Hello and welcome to another video, and this is going to be the last one on the public test for skill tree until they change something. They've already said that they're going to, but I wouldn't expect any information on what's going to change or to have a change until Tuesday of next week, as Monday is a public holiday here in British Columbia, and I think that's right. Oh well. I don't have to go to school anyway because I'm on my reading break from university. But what we're going to talk about in this one is I have absolutely nothing prepared. I'm just going to talk about, well, more like rant about how they use the public test and how they don't incentivize people to play on it and how they muddy the waters for what they're testing with other changes. Those are the sort of the two big critiques in how they're doing their testing. Well, yeah, let's do that first one. Incentivification. If we look at here, boom. Oh, whoa, look. This surprises me. There's somebody on. Before, for the last hour and a half or whatever, as I've been sitting on the PTS recording the previous video and experimenting, there hasn't been a single person in the queue whenever I've checked. It's all been 0. And now there's a person, one person, in the assault queue. Okay. And the public test has been up for a while, but there's nobody playing on it. This is a problem that has been persistent for all of the tests. And it's not just for MechWarrior Online. I mean, it's not saying like, oh, only people on MechWarrior Online don't want to test things. The head of Overwatch, I can't remember his exact name. Is it Jeff Kaplan? He's like the Russ Bullock of Overwatch. And he said that in the last public tests they do, only a small percentage of their players get on it, like 2%. For Overwatch that has like 25 whatever million players, that's a significant amount of players that get on the test because they have so many. And that's fine for them. They have enough people to put together matches and stuff like that. That's good. But for MechWarrior, who's a very niche game, who doesn't have many people online at once, 2% is in this case one guy sitting in the assault bracket. And he's going to sit there for a very long time trying to find a match. And he's most likely not going to, because there's no incentivization to go play on the public test server. Like the only thing that could incentivize you to get on here right now is the chance to experiment with the new system and give your feedback. And that's great. And all of the major players of MWO have done so. But they're done. They've said their piece. After I do this video, I'm not going to load back into the test server until they change something. What would be different is if they had said, you know, play 5 matches on the test server, get 1 million C-bills in your main account. Doesn't have to be huge. Really, it doesn't have to be huge. That's 200,000 C-bills per match that you play. Just get that one little thing, incentivizes people to just go play 5 matches when they have a chance to patch it up, to try out the new system, or even, like, hopefully they would have the metrics to be able to do this, but say, like, you can get 1 million C-bills if you go into the skill tree system, and if it loads eventually, and skill out a mech. Skill out a mech and play a match with a fully skilled mech. And that would be your criteria. To force people to try out the system and then give them a benefit for doing so. Not force people, but highly incentivize people to actually do the changes that you're proposing and give it a try. I feel like they should incentivize it. You know, if the comments are, well, we don't want to take away population from the main servers because population is an issue, I don't know. I guess that's kind of telling on how much population there is. Oh, there, look, the assault guy left. Now back to 0. Nobody. But anyway, that's that. You should incentivize these tests a little bit. Or have a weekend event where the tests are, you get twice as much C-bills from playing things on the test server or something like that. I bet if people got account progress, they wouldn't be as sad. And also, if you could make it like an entirely, like, because currently it's an entirely separate launcher. I go to the public test executable and I click it. If it was just like, I clicked MechWarrior and then I just selected the public test server, it would be way easier. And I think they're doing that with their new launcher, but they should roll that into Steam version. But anyway, moving on. The other thing I want to talk about is muddying the waters when they do a test. And if you ever done any like sort of science, you want to test something, you want it to be that only that particular variable. You want to get rid of all their variables. You want to have a control sample, which is exactly the same except for that one variable you're changing. They don't follow this rule when they're making the skill trees, or not the skill trees, the public tests. So we're going to go down here, and these are the patch notes for the test. And, you know, this is the structure of the test, this is the design principles. Okay, this is describing everything, historical experience, all the new stuff with it. This is all great. This is the new system, and they're describing it. And this is good. So we're going to go through all this, and this is all great, all great, all great. And then we're going to arrive at this. General balance changes. Component health? What? Also, this is just a false statement. The skill tree bringing in global reduction in inherent quirk values. Quirks are going up, as far as I can tell, as soon as people are fully spec'd out. But, moving on, they are basically reducing the amount of health that your components have. So, previously, your amount of components in the right torso of this mech would have 51.6 health. They want to reduce that to 47.5. Okay, that would mean that particular piece of equipment is critted out easier and is destroyed off the mech. Okay. But why is that on a public test for the skill tree? Like, it makes no sense. Like, it's not related to the skill tree in any way. Like, if you go down here, target info gathering and ECM, these are changes that are related. They basically nerfed the amount of time it takes to get your target info gathering across the board, so it's much longer. This is relevant because people, they say here, they want to reward players who wish to specialize in information warfare and boost their target info gathering abilities through the skill tree advancement. I totally understand why they made this change. It makes sense because that way people who specialize in it will actually have a benefit instead of having the base values so low that no one needs to specialize in it because it's good enough for everybody. Like, this makes complete sense. ECM, while I don't really agree as much with the numbers they've chosen, I can see why they've done it. They want to incentivize people that have that ECM to go down that sensor route. They want that to be a benefit. Okay, I totally get that. But then things like targeting computers, where they changed all of the critical hit percentages, it's not related to the PTS at all. There's no nodes that increase your critical hit chance as far as I know. So why would they reduce the critical hits? Well, they want to say, like, the critical chance boost provided by targeting computer equipment is disproportionate to the lower tiers of the equipment to the higher tiers. Okay, that makes sense. That's a completely valid point, but why is it in a skill tree test? It's not related to skill trees. If you wanted to go in and you wanted to do a critical hits change test, and you wanted to change how the critical hit system worked and change all the critical hit stuff, this makes complete sense to be in that test, but not in a skill tree one. You know what I mean? That's why I think they muddy the waters with these sort of things. They did the same thing with the energy draw system. Of course, a lot of the higher end community think that the energy draw is a horrid idea. I can understand where they're coming from. I still think it's a very strong concept that was poorly implemented. The PTS for it had the waters were muddied by a whole bunch of other balance changes that didn't belong in it. We should have just taken all of the values of the current test like the current system and then just added energy draw and saw how that worked. But what they also did is they increased cooldowns across the board, they changed a whole bunch of other weapon stats, they changed a bunch of ranges, I believe, they changed a bunch of quirks, and it's like, we're trying to test 5 things at once, and then everything just goes bad because the one thing you're trying to test is going to be muddied by all these other things. Like, again, like, why do we need the crit chance removed from UAC 2s in this test server? It makes no sense. The one that I can understand makes sense here is like these SRM spreads being increased slightly. You want to promote people to go and get those spread reductions. That makes sense. I totally get that. But, for example, LRM range reduced to 900 meters from 1,000 meters. We did not wish for the range nodes to be seen as useless or ineffective when compared to the other nodes in the LRM skill branch. That sentence, I think, proves that, in my mind, they're not really understanding some things. Because under no circumstances, if you're using LRMs appropriately, and you can use LRMs at every skill level. It's not just the tier 5 potatoes that get lermed and then cry about it. You can use lerms at tier 1 in a high level battle and be effective if you use them correctly. And one of the fundamentals of that is never fire your lerms if you're over like 500 meters away. Because the lerms take far too long to get to your opponents. The best ranges for lerms is like 200 meters to 500 meters. You're far enough away that you can actually land the shots. 200 meters is a little close, but you probably want them to be like 300. And the shots don't take that long to get to your opponents. That's the main thing. Velocity is the most important thing when it comes to LRMs, because it gives the opponent less time to get to cover and less time for them to lose a lock. If we look into here, we can see that velocity does increase. Like, that's good. You would want to go down velocity. But no one's going to touch range if they know anything what they're doing with LRMs. Like, this is completely useless. Like, they did not wish for learn nodes to be useless or ineffective. They are. Range on LRMs has always and will always be useless because they have such high base range and they're not effective at that range, at their max range. So, I don't know, that just bothers me. And that's sort of what I thought about the PTS and how they're using it and all that kind of stuff. I want to go into one other thing about just all this critical hit changes that they're making. They're changing all these critical hit numbers here. They removed crit chance there. They reduced crit damage here. They reduced crit damage there. Like, all this crit changes. Why all this crit changes? And sort of like, I could make this into an entirely other video, but I'm just going to tack it on here because whatever, I'm ranting. And I'm in that mood. We'll put it all in one video so I can just be like, this is my one thing. This is my cancerous rant video. Just this one time. Literally, critical hits mean nothing in this game as long as you just core out your opponent and just kill them. Like, every single mech in this game can die between 1 to 4 shots. And that is the dual Gauss, dual Peep, something, like a Kodiak, can kill even an Atlas in 4 shots. Straight to the CT, puts them down. Now that, of course, assumes that you have really good aim and all that kind of stuff, and the opponent isn't torso twisting, but I am not concerned at all with the amount of component health that my opponent has. All I want to do is just core out their CT as fast as physically possible. And can I swap this around to that Kodiak, maybe? It would be nice. So, all of these changes and fusses about the critical hit system, I feel show that there is a lack of understanding with the priorities of a high-end player on how they approach their opponents. Sure, there are very specific weapon systems that seek for crits and are good at doing that, like machine guns and LBX. However, the majority of the time, you don't care about critting off a person's weapon. You care about just killing them, putting them out of their misery. And honestly, I would be okay and would actually enjoy the critical hit system being removed from this game, because it's just every single time I've interacted with it, it's been a negative experience, even if I've benefited from it. And what I mean by that being a negative benefit, I mean, like, for example, this one scouting match, the opponents were kicking us. Like, they were gonna win. It was versus a group of Centurions. We were in our Huntsmans. They were winning. Like, by all accounts, they should have won. However, I got extremely lucky and crit out the ammo on one of the guy's legs, blew up his leg, blew up his side, blew up his center, he died. We were all of a sudden back in the game, and we survived that. We just barely won. Our guy had orange CT, like nothing left on him, and he managed to put down the last Centurion. We should not have won that, and we won it based off RNG, and that's very painful. Like, I dislike any game that is a skill-based competitive thing that is based on the roll of a dice. Like, 9 times out of 10, me taking off his leg would have just reduced his speed down. That's an understandable thing. But he would have been just peachy fine. He still had all of his torso armor and all of his torso health, and he would have just killed us. But because of the critical hit system, the stuff that they're trying to change here, we won it randomly. And I don't like that. Like, there's like a hypothetical situation. You have 11 health in your center torso. Your opponent has 10 health in their center torso. You have no other things that are relevant. You have perfect aims. You're always going to hit that one section. You both have an AC 10. He fires first, then you fire. Like, it makes no sense that there is a % chance that he will win because there is a small quantity of additional damage that is done when you do a critical hit. Like, you have 11 health and he hits you for 10. You should never die. But there's a couple % that he's going to do an additional 1.5 damage, and he's going to do 11.5, and he's going to kill you. If they truly feel like this should be a competitive game, they should remove critical hits. Like, compare it to Overwatch. You have a character like Soldier 76 who does, I think it's 20 points per bullet. It would be weird for him to do like 18 to 22 per bullet. People would call him inconsistent, you know? Or 15 to 25 sort of thing. Like, you can make that bigger, but it's not that bad comparatively to MechWarrior. Where they have critical hits is hitting a head. They say, oh, you have critical hits in that game. You can hit heads and you can do extra damage. True. We have headshots in this game as well. You can shoot out the cockpit, and it's really easy to kill a mech that way. We already have a critical hit in that sense. A mech is really easy to kill through a very hard skill shot, but that requires the skill of being able to hit it. Where randomly, just randomly, say an opponent has 2 AC-10s in their right torso or something like that, and they're going at you and you fire a single PPC, you can crit out both of those AC-10s and leave them with no weapons, and you can also... So that single PPC can hit that right torso, can crit out both AC-10s, could rupture an ammo and explode them and kill them from a single PPC shot. It should never have that effect just because, oh, whoa, I rolled boxcars, double sixes. That mech just dies because of randomness. I don't like it. And all of these changes, we're trying to like reduce randomness and reduce critical hits and stuff like that, I feel like don't understand how me as a player from like I don't want to say I'm the best, but I would say I'm a better player in this game. When I look at my mech and how I'm going to kill an opponent, I don't think about critical hits at all. I think about I'm just going to core them out with 2 shots because big alpha strikes. But anyway, I've been ranting far too long. This is a real silly video, and I hope you have enjoyed it and gotten something out of it. That's going to be it. I'll do another update when they've changed the skill tree to something hopefully more interesting. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.